All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Dee Williams. I am a career services advisor as well as career services manager, and I work with psychology students, obviously, or I wouldn't be here. And Jen, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Ginsberg. I'm the Associate Director of Employer Relations for the Career Bridge Department. So my team takes care of connecting to organizations and employers so that you guys have pipelines for internships and jobs.
Yeah, super important. So we're very happy to have Jen here. So one of the things we wanted to do, and I have to give Jen all the credit in the world, is we wanted to put together an information session. We know that we live in drastically different times than we expected to be living in right now. And so finding an internship, finding a position becomes that much more difficult. So we realize that, we absolutely recognize that, and we want you to know that we do, but we also are here to help you find some of these roles. Jen? All right, so this is a list of who's here to support you. We want you to be familiar with these names. So again, my name is Steve Williams. I'm out of the Chicago campus. We have Bush Sarkar, who's on here. I see her smiling face right now. She's at the Wheeling campus. Jen, as she shared, works to find internships as well as employers for jobs. And we have Marley, Erica, and Art, who are student success coaches. Gary, thank you so much for being here, who's been a huge supporter of what Jen and I do and what Bushra does, and also of students. And then some of the different faculty members who you'll be interacting with. Gail Stam, Judith Kent, Kristen Skillicorn, and Ebony Bradford Thomas. Like these are all people who our goal is to support you. Our goal is to make sure that you understand what you have to do next, understand how you have to do it, and know that we're there not only pushing but encouraging you. So one of the other pieces we want you to think about, because if finding an internship was as easy as waking up and saying, "Hey, I want an internship," then everyone would have an internship. It's not that easy. There's some steps that we found are what we like to call best practices. So step one, as you can see here, um, ideally a year before that internship, is understanding what the requirements are. That's We can't stress enough how important that is. If you don't know what's even expected of you, it's going to be hard for you to meet those expectations. So understanding what those internship requirements are, and we can help you with that. Another piece, we like to call it your marketing materials. It's your resume and your cover letter. The days of your parents and grandparents and great grandparents just walking into a place, especially these days, but just walking into a place and saying, "Hey, I want to work here," sitting down, filling out an application, those, while they're not 100% gone, it might be 99% gone. So even without COVID, like those don't happen nearly as much as they used to. So it's making sure that your resume is up to date, your cover letter is on point, and Handshake is a tool that we use. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but it's a tool that we use to help you get there. And then finding where you want to work at. Where do you want to do your internship at? If you don't know, it's not the end of the world, but we encourage you to try and figure out what is it that you want to do, because if you find out what it is you want to do, then finding places that offer what you want to do becomes that much easier. So that's step one. Step two is, now we're going to put these things into action. It's actually searching for internships. So you've determined what it is you want to do. I want to work with children, I want to work in schools, I want to help people, which is a general big giant umbrella, but at least we've got a starting point. Now we can start searching from there. It's tracking where you're going to go, because that matters too. Trust me, one of the things that I did early in my career was I'd apply to multiple places, and this applies to jobs, not just internships, but I'd apply to multiple places, and then I'd get a call from Jen, and I was thinking Jen worked at the place that Gary worked at, and I applied at both places. So I'm having a conversation with Jen for a couple minutes about the place that I should be talking with Gary about. Not good. And if they catch on, definitely not good. So keeping track of where you're applying, as we list here, the company, the position, where it's located, when you apply. Those things can just help you. For some of you who are super organized, you're probably already doing this. For others, kind of like myself, maybe you need to do this. So that happened to me early in my career, and it's never happened since because it's not a good time. And then practicing. One of the things that I tell students all the time, and not just students, but it's play the way you practice and practice the way you play. And what I mean by that is if you go into the situation prepared to be at your best, you're not joking around, you're not playing around, you're taking it seriously. You are preparing as if this opportunity is right in front of you, and how you act now will get you that opportunity. Then once that opportunity comes, it becomes so much easier. And I found that to be true whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you are comfortable interviewing or not. If you can prepare and seriously prepare, and I don't mean taking 8 hours out of your day to do it, but if you can prepare, then it makes a big difference. So practicing your elevator pitch, which is sharing information about who you are and what you bring to the table, and then practicing interviewing. If you don't want to practice with your career advisor, which would be awful because literally that's what Bushra and I are here to do with you, um, then find someone who's going to be honest with you. I don't want you to find someone who's going to tell you that every single answer you give is the greatest answer ever given, because chances are they're not. I want someone who's going to be upfront and say, I don't think that you hit it. I don't think you did what you needed to do there. I don't think you conveyed what you were trying to convey. That's what Bushra and I are here to do. We're not here to knock you down. We're here to pick you up, but that practice can make all the difference in the world. So step 3, 2 months to go. You've done all the things, as my daughter would say. You have your resume, you have your cover letter, you've applied, you've interviewed, and you've been offered. Reach back out to us, because we want to make sure that you can get that information submitted. At the end of the day, I think you all know, and if you don't, then I'm going to share. You need an internship to graduate. If you don't know by now, that's okay. Now you know. You need an internship to graduate. And so reach out to us so we can help you get that internship into Handshake. That way you can get credit for it. That way you can align your future classes with it. Also, make sure you're contacting your student success coach. And we showed a list of who those folks were earlier. Make sure you contact them so you can actually get registered into the proper class. As you look below here, and again, as Jen shared, this is being recorded, and this link, you'll be able to see it, but it's the step-by-step guide to help you throughout this process. Because I don't expect that anyone was necessarily taking notes or has a photographic memory. So we've got the step-by-step guide there for you to take a look, and we're also available to walk through this with you moving forward.
Thanks, Dee. Fantastic. So yes, as Dee said, there will be a recording of this, and we can also share out this PowerPoint. There's nothing secret in this PowerPoint that you guys wouldn't have access to. So we can share those out with Gary and your coaches. And so we can also send this out to everybody in attendance. And so this list here is essentially some suggestions on different organizations that we work with that you could look into interning with. And I tried to put a variety of organizations here, specifically because psychology is a major where you can do so many different things. You're not stuck in this little box. You don't have to be a therapist if that's not what you feel passionate about. You know, this is definitely the right path if you want to become a therapist, but there are so many different things within the realm of psychology that you can be doing as your career, and your internship is the perfect opportunity for you to try things out. It's a great way to kind of see what you like and what you don't like, because in my opinion, knowing what you don't like is just as important as knowing what you do. I'm a perfect example. I've told the story a million times. I thought throughout my entire high school and college career that I was going to be a child psychologist. I very quickly, after getting a job after graduation, realized that that was not something I could do long term. I was taking all of the baggage home with me. I emotionally just couldn't maintain long term. So I had to look into other avenues. Had I actually tried it before I graduated, I would have had a better idea of what I should be doing. So this is where we come in to support you in that. So there's such a variety. There's things like World Relief. They do advocacy work, and you could be working with immigrants and asylum seekers and things like that. You could be doing work in the community with My Hood, My Block, My City. They do a lot of kind of civic engagement events. They do all kinds of support with protesting and making sure that young people and everyone in the community have a voice. There are opportunities at Maryville Academy. They do crisis intervention. They do case management. You might be looking at Pause Chicago and be like, Jen, what in the world? Why is that on here? It is on there because any shelter and adoption agency for animals, they need humans to support them. And an organization like Pause Chicago, they're very intentional about who they are letting animals go home with. So there's adoption programs and foster programs that need a behavioral aspect to it. They need someone with a behavioral background to kind of make sure, okay, is this person going to be a caring and responsible pet parent? No, or, oh, this dog really has issues with children. Let's avoid pairing them with someone with children, things like that. So there's a very big behavioral and human aspect to positions with Pause. And plus you get to, play with awesome animals. So you get the best of both worlds. Then there's things like Youth for a Better Future that, if you're passionate about youth and working with kids in a variety of ways, that's, area you can go for that. Little Brothers, Friends of the Elderly. If you're passionate about the elderly and older people, you can go that route. I mean, this is just, a very small list of what's actually out there. So Dee and I are happy to help connect you with organizations that that you might be passionate about. Maybe you have an idea of where you want to work or intern, and maybe you don't. Maybe you have no ideas. In both cases, Dee and Bushra and I are there as your advocates. And so let's keep some things in mind. You guys probably know that there are paid internships, but in my humble opinion, unpaid internships are usually the best kinds of internships. And that's simply because a lot of the unpaid opportunities are with small businesses, nonprofits, and organizations that just don't have the funding to pay an intern. Usually those same organizations, when they do host interns, the opportunity is so wonderful, and so like the mentoring is very one-on-one, and they get so much more out of it than if you were going to a big Fortune 500 company and there's 10 other interns with you. It's not as intimate, it's not as fruitful as some of the smaller ones, I think. So long story short, unpaid internships are okay. You can apply for an NLU stipend, and that stipend will pay you during the 10-week term that you're doing internship. Obviously, there are some financial pieces that go with it. So most are approved, but not all, because it does go through the finance and the financial aid departments to review availability and things like that. But the reason this is on here is so that you know not to avoid unpaid internships. It tends to be the ones that are paid are very competitive, and so we want to make sure that you have the best chance to get an internship with an organization that you are excited about and an opportunity that you're passionate about. So don't pay attention to if it's paid or unpaid. You're going to be good either way. Some internships, we've been seeing this more and more with social services agencies, mental health agencies. They are requiring a driver's license. A lot of them either are requiring someone to be driving to patient or clients' homes. Others, you're responsible for kind of a portion of travel with clients and patients, taking them to different places. I just wanted to put that out there as something to keep in mind. You may not be a big driver, you may not have a car, but I think it's a good idea early on to get a driver's license, just as kind of that, you know, skill to have in your pocket if employers are looking for that. And then we are going to say this till we are blue in the face. Use your support team. Use us. That's what we're here for. We love working with you. So your Career Bridge staff, so that's me, Dee, and Bushra, your success coaches, and faculty, including Gary. Use us if you're confused, if you're feeling stuck, if you're not sure even where to begin and you just are like out in left field without a glove. That's fine. We are more than happy to help you get to where you need to go and where you want to go long term. It's helpful to know kind of what your plans are, or even if you're not sure what your plans are in general, we're going to help with all of that. So make your appointments with the career team. We can suggest sites. We can, Dee and Bushra can review your resume and cover letter, practice interviewing, and then obviously once you're offered an internship, they can help you submit that to Handshake. It's definitely a little time consuming to enter everything into Handshake, but they can walk you through all the steps, and it shouldn't be too scary.
I can add something too, Jen.
Yeah.
First, glad to see everyone, all students. I see some familiar names and faces, so glad to see all of you guys. One thing that I'll just add to piggyback off of what Jen is saying is that please do reach out to our team, myself, faculty. One of the things that I pride our program on is that most of our faculty are not just instructors here at the university, but we're also practitioners too, including myself. So, and that experience is very includes a lot of variety. And I want you, if you're confused or have questions, to access faculty who have this depth of experience to help get the questions answered that you may have. I know that all of our faculty are very enthusiastic about helping students, wanting students to have the best experience possible, including internship, because as Jen and Dee have said, and Bushra, this is, internship is such an important time to be able to figure out what you want to do or to rule things out. And if we can play a role in that process, please ask us to do that because we all want to. So thanks.
Yes, and it's always helpful to have a department chair like Gary that's actually interested and is engaged with us and is so easily accessible. So that's a huge help. So thank you, Gary. So I did want to take a quick chance to go through some of the internship requirements. You guys have probably seen this a couple times, depending on where you are in the program. Sophomores, you may not have seen this just yet. But either way, psychology majors, you guys have one internship that you're required to complete for graduation. You can start looking into this. You can do one as early as the summer after sophomore year. So after sophomore year, you're technically starting off as a junior. So there's different companies that do only summer internships, so that's definitely an option for you, but don't feel like you have to do it in the summer after sophomore year. We're just saying that you have essentially 2 full years to complete this internship requirement. In a perfect world, I would encourage students to do more than one or volunteer outside of your internship experience, because the more experience you can get in the field and the variety of experience you can get, the better. That's going to help you figure out your long-term career goals. And again, figuring out what doesn't work for you is really, really important. So the internship will require 100 hours on site. So you may have heard a number that's higher than that. You may have heard 120. That includes the 20 hours of coursework that you'll be doing. So 100 hours of site work, and then you have 20 hours in the classroom. So for those of you doing internship this coming fall, everything is going to be virtual as far as the class is concerned. Some internships are still being held on site. The majority of ones that I know of that are still being held this fall that are on site, there are incredibly stringent health and safety precautions that are being addressed. So masks, sanitizers, 6 feet away from everybody, things like that. So if you're not comfortable with that, just don't apply for any internships for fall that are requiring you to be on site. You can look specifically for virtual internships. Or, if you're a sophomore or junior and you want to wait until COVID has kind of, ended, which hope sooner rather than later, you can wait until things are kind of back to normal and you can be on site. But even the ones that are on site are pretty darn safe for right now, because these agencies, these organizations are doing everything within CDC guidelines to keep everyone, staff, patients, everybody safe. And so I do want to discuss, there's some confusion about the actual hours and your coursework. So they are taken together. So you do the course at the same time that you're doing the internship hours. And the intent behind that is because in the class, you're going to be talking about what you're doing in internship. You're going to be reflecting on the experience and talking about, things that you're actually getting from that experience. What things would you improve if you had, control over this position? What things are you really excited about? What things are unexpected that you are doing? It's really to engage you and reflect on this experience, because it's really important. So you will, like we said on the previous slide, need you to be registered for the course in order for it to count as internship. The hours need to be spread over the 10-week term. So it's going to be around 10 hours a week. Some employers would prefer that you do around 15. They are most of the time quite flexible, and because you guys have a great schedule where you're only actually in class 2 days of the week, it should be pretty open as far as flexible scheduling for the internship. So the reason we are pointing this out is that you cannot leave your site early if you finish your hours. That may be kind of an assumed thing, but we do want to outline, if you hit 100 hours completed by week 6, no, you do not leave. You are kind of held to this as an unofficial contract. So you're going to be completing hours every single week of that academic term, because you are reflecting on things each week in your class. Some assignments that you're doing, you're going to be discussing your experiences. So you need to make sure that you're actually on site every week. There may be certain situations that are kind of, case by case, but the majority of students, you need to complete hours every week. Your internship site and role will need to be reviewed and approved by our internship manager, Carter Caldarelli. If you have questions about if you think a site will be approved or if a role is appropriate, instead of reaching out to Carter, you would actually reach out to CareerBridge to kind of double check that. Even Gary would be able to tell you if that opportunity makes sense for an internship or not. And so he's going to be reviewing those things once you submit everything to Handshake. He's kind of the admin behind the scenes. And so overall, at the very, very least, when you're submitting your internship opportunity, you need the company's name, the supervisor's name, the supervisor's contact information, the phone number, the email, and their actual title, and then a description of the duties you'll be responsible for. So he needs to be able to evaluate, is this something that's relevant? Are you going to be getting mentoring from this? Are you actually going to be doing a project, or is this just some kind of random part-time job? So it's important that we have that information. The contact info, you guys may not know this, but the supervisor for internship is going to actually be getting evaluations for you. So they are going to get a midterm evaluation halfway through the course, and then one at the end of the term. And they're evaluating your performance. They want to see, was the student on time? Was the student able to kind of keep up with the responsibilities? But on the flip side, you will also be receiving a survey twice in the term as well. We want to know how the site did. Should we never send students to that site ever again? We don't know how things went unless you tell us, and that survey allows us to get that feedback. If you had a wonderful experience and you would love to work with them, you know, after you graduate, that's the kind of stuff that we need to know. So you get a voice in this, just like the supervisor does. And I believe we are ready for questions. I did see one pop up. And then I want to leave everything on this screen because this is contact information. You guys can take a screenshot, you can take a picture with your phone of contact information for all the different people that you may want to reach out to. And then your faculty members, obviously in your psychology classes, reach out to them directly with any questions you have, just like Gary said. We're here, we work at NLU because we really want to, you know, work with students and the youth. So please do not hesitate. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Yeah, it's a little, you know, there's going to be repeated questions, but that's okay. You know, we've been doing this for a long time. There is a question. So Jackie asked me, if we want to do an internship in the summer, does our financial aid cover the class since financial aid is only fall through spring? That's a really, really good question. So that has been something that has come up several times. And I would say, if there's any issues with financial aid, you probably want to avoid summer internships. There are plenty of internships that occur during fall, winter, and spring to avoid any kind of financial aid issues of taking a summer internship. However, I'm not sure the level of burden that if you just took the internship class in the summer, I don't believe it's a ton of credit hours. So I'm not sure, you know, what that looks like, but I would encourage you to work with the financial aid department and your success coach. They're really kind of your tandem team for any kind of financial aid and registration. But that's a really, really good question that has come up quite a few times. So again, thank you guys so much for coming. Go ahead and type in any questions you have into the chat. And Bushra, Dee, Gary, if you want to say any, you know, address anything that maybe I missed, we're open to it.
Yeah, so the one thing I wanted to add, and I should have included this earlier, one of our peers, Olivia, who works with our online students, they have a different student success coach, so they're not listed here, but I know that from what Olivia's hearing from her students, they're looking for internships as well. So not the same requirements, but a lot of the same organizations that Jen listed would be organizations you could take a look at. And for those students, I'm going to put Olivia's email in here so that they can reach out to her specifically. So again, those are online students, not remote students, which is all of us right now, but online students. The other thing I wanted to add, and Gary and Jen both spoke to this, but finding out what you don't like absolutely matters. But when you're on these internships, we can't stress enough how important it is for you to figure out whether this is what you want. As Jen pointed out, if she had done an internship prior to getting that job, that would have made a difference. So finding out if this is what you want for your career, but also the term that I use, the phrase that I use is you have to own that internship. So when you're on that internship, I want you going all out. I want you to show initiative. I want you to make connections. I want you to work harder than you think you've ever worked before, because this is an opportunity. Even if you don't end up working there after the internship ends, this is an opportunity for you to turn the people who you work with ambassadors of who you are. And what that can look like for you is people who are willing to reach out on your behalf and say, you know what, this person did an amazing job for us. People who are willing to write recommendation letters for you, to be a reference for you. What we don't want is them saying, yeah, I'd never take that person again. Even if you decide you don't want to go there, we want them cheering you on and talking about how amazing you are. So when you get there, take the initiative. When you finish your work, that doesn't mean you're done. Reach out to someone and say, hey, can I learn more? Is there something else that needs to be done? Those little things matter a tremendous amount. And that's not just me telling you, this is what organizations have told us. And so it's super important that you're aware of those things.
Dee, if I can just piggyback off of what you just said, a question that I get often from students, or more of a concern, is that Bushra, my internship as a psych major, I wasn't able to work individually with their clients. And many times for psychology students at the bachelor level, you won't be able to, and this is because it's a liability. Yep. They save that for the grad students because of the partnership that maybe they have, maybe because of the knowledge that that grad student carries. So they save that for the grad students. And even then, there is supervision. There is very strong supervision for the grad students as well. So if you are a student who has an internship or does have an internship currently, and for the students that are going to have an internship, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I mostly did admin work, come see Dee and I, and we can work on your resume to make sure that your resume isn't just talking about the admin work, but also talking about how the admin work relates to the clients. So definitely come and see Dee when you're looking for an internship, and even after the internship, so we can update that resume for you guys.
Oh, Bushra, I love it. I love it. That's exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth, because that seems to be kind of the next steps. Obviously, this presentation is about internships, but it's really, really, really important that you're putting your internship experience on your resume, because that's going to help you with your job search when you're done. If you want to continue working at that site, ask them. You know, let's say you love your internship and you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to keep doing this part-time. You know, talk to your supervisor, talk to other supervisors at that site in other departments, try different things out. I had a conversation with an employer just yesterday about, you know, rotations, doing experiences in other departments at the same agency. So take every single advantage as you possibly can, networking with the people that you're doing your internship with. Get their business cards, get their contact information, connect with them on LinkedIn, because that opens the door of all these other connections to other agencies that maybe they worked at before. You know, maybe if they leave and they go to another agency, now you have all of these contacts. There's just so much value from these internships. I want you guys to look at it as more, you know, more than just a requirement for graduation. You know, you enrolled in a psychology degree for a reason. You obviously care about people. So your internship is just one step in the right direction to do what you really want to be doing for the rest of your life. So, oh, Bushra, you read my mind. I love it. So anybody have any questions? I know we went through a lot, so, you know, we probably answered, you know, quite a few questions that you guys had. Oh, I am getting a question. If we complete one internship and want to look for another, do we have to get it approved? No. So that's a really good question. Obviously, I will put out that the stipend is only for one internship, because that's all you're required to do. But if you want to look for multiple internships, if you've already done one, or if you're doing one right now and you want to do another, and you want our help with connecting to those employers or just looking for another one, oh my gosh, we'd be so excited. You have no idea. So yes, please, you know, work with us. We're happy to help you find volunteer opportunities that are in the field as well. Tons of opportunities to volunteer, because organizations just a lot of time, especially now, just don't have the funding to pay people for every little thing that they need help with. So absolutely, more than one internship, yes, please. Anything else you guys can think of? All right. Oh, Bushra, I'm so sorry. You are muted.
Any other questions, anyone, that we can answer for you, or at least attempt to answer for you?
I just wanted to go off of Jen's point because you read my mind this time, Jen. For the world, in the world of psychology, the more internships, the better, because there's so many different populations that need help. And so if you can expose yourself to as many populations, even if you're like, hey, I don't want to work with the elderly, if you get an internship working with the elderly, let's put that on your resume, have that as an experience, because then it just shows that you have a diverse experiences on that resume. And then you can point what populations you strive in, you thrive in, and that you can succeed in. So the more populations that you serve, the better, definitely.
Right, good point, Bushra. You know, in the conversations with students, you know, one of the fears that often comes up is, well, if I work with one population, does that pigeonhole me into only sort of being stuck? And what if I'm unhappy, or if I want to try something different? And that couldn't be further from the truth. Absolutely, to Bushra's advice, try out different things, right? Especially with internships, is the opportunity and the time to do that. And you can always do that throughout your career and throughout my career as a psychotherapist. It's changed. It's taken different turns based on my own interest and my own needs, right? So if you're unsure, ask the questions. You know, one of what I always like to encourage students to do, no matter where you are in your career, if you've never done any type of work in psychology before, or if you are a seasoned professional and you are back in school, or you're earning another degree, to talk to people, right? To learn through individuals' experiences, to learn through others' journeys, and help that be an inspiration to you, so that you can be informed and learn from others. So I think I'm really happy that we have this conversation and that we're all here to support all of you guys. So if there are any more questions, please bring them up.
And I will totally put you and Bushra on blast right now, because informational interviews, stop, get out of my head. Informational interviews with Bushra and Gary would be a really fantastic kind of formal opportunity to get more information from them in their experience. Bushra and Gary are both licensed. So it's important that if that's kind of your path, if that's what you think you want to do long term, talk to them, schedule appointments with them, reach out to them and say, I would love to pick your brain about how you got there. What steps did you take? What schooling did you get? What license do you have? What do you think I need? This is what I want to do. What's your suggestions? Bushra and Gary are going to be a huge, huge asset for you. So take advantage. You don't have to pay to have this information. It's free. So yeah, I definitely think that that's a fantastic opportunity. You know, the support that we all provide you, we're not doing this because we, you know, get paid $1 million to do it. It's because we enjoy what we do. So
I mean, mine's close to that, but don't tell anyone else at NLU I said that. That would drastically affect my income. Anyone else? Any questions? And Bushra, thank you for that. I was going to say, I don't want to, at the risk of opening up Bushra to a ton of questions. I know she's at the Wheeling campus, but I had a feeling she'd be open to dealing with anyone from an informational interview standpoint. And obviously Gary, as we said before, his support that he's shown for his students and for what we're doing is huge and very much appreciated. Any other questions that we can answer for anyone? Or thoughts or statements or whatever the case may be? If not, we're super happy that you were able to join us. As Jen said, this is certainly being recorded. If you're like me, your question will come up 2 minutes after the presentation is ended. And again, email addresses are listed here. So you can always reach out if there's any questions you have, even if that starts with your success coach, but winds its way to your career advisor. That's okay too. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me whether you ask me the question, as long as you get your question answered. So that's our goal, is to see you supported, to see you successful, And however that has to happen, we're here for that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And we'll be sending these materials out. Everyone that attended today will be sending these out later today. And yeah, any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much. And we look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and positive.
Thanks, everyone.